Evening and welcome to your second night before newspaper for your maths exam. You have paper 2 tomorrow. This video is for anybody who's doing the higher tier, and we're just going to go through sort of what came up in paper 1 and maybe what we can now think ahead for and expect tomorrow, and then what you can do this evening to prepare yourself for that. So what's going to be in this exam? I think the best place to start is by looking at what came up in paper 1. I've been through the paper now. Now that we've been able to see it, and this is everything that came up in paper 1. A huge mix of topics there, and we absolutely cannot rule out that any of those things would come up again, but we can start to try and think about what's sensible to look at. So here's our sort of our health warning here, our disclaimer. We cannot say for certain that topics that have already appeared will not come up again. However, it does make sense to revise topics that have not yet been seen. There is no guarantee that the following topics that I've listed will definitely appear in papers 2 and 3, but it is going to provide you sort of focus areas for when you're doing your last bits tonight. I first thought I would sort of list maybe some common calculator topics. So you've got things like iteration, classic calculator style question. If it's going to be examined in your PPEs, that will be in a calculator paper for sure. So that could well be on Tuesday, or it could be in your paper 3 in the following week after. You've had a small piece of percentages in your paper 1, but when you're thinking about calculator percentages, you've got compound interest, you've got depreciation. Cosine rule, area of triangle, so further trig, basically anything that involves trig, so it could even be SOHCAHTOA, where it's not an exact trig value, so you can use your calculator. I didn't list sine rule because it was in paper 1, but you know, it could come up again as part of a bigger further trig question in paper 2 or paper 3. Bounds, again, another quite classic calculator one. Pythagoras. Compound measures, you did have a pressure question, but we've not seen anything from speed or anything from density, and you know from your work from revision and your high frequency topics that actually density has been in every single real exam for the last, I think it's 5 years. So incredibly common, so just because you've had a compound measures question in paper 1, absolutely not meaning that you won't have it again. I think you definitely will. Circles, again, there was a little bit of circle work in paper 1, but we haven't anything to do with sort of compound areas with circles, or a harder question that you might have calculated before. So, topics yet to appear that you might want to then sort of factor into revision this evening. Standard form. Obviously, you can do a lot of standard form without a calculator, but it is quite common if the question involves calculating a standard form that it is in a calculator paper, so I would utilise your calculators for this if it does come up. More probability. Probability is huge. It's a big strand in maths. You did have algebraic probability in paper 1, but you've not seen anything yet for like in Venn diagrams, so set notation. Highest common factor, lowest common multiple. It's in every exam series. I'm sure you're going to see that either tomorrow morning or in your paper next week. Similarity. More statistics, and now you have box plots, but you've got frequency polygons, cumulative frequency, histograms, so anything along those lines. Use of a calculator, that type of question where it just says put all this into the calculator and write down your answer, so checking that you know how to use your calculator. Transformations. So we had a graphical transformation in paper 1, but I'm thinking about enlargement, rotation, reflection, translation. Pythagoras has not come up yet, so again, might be something you want to start thinking about revising this evening. I would imagine you will also see way more ratio. That's a very common theme that runs through all the papers, and there was a question on that in paper 1. I've not put that on this list because obviously it has come up, but I do think it's likely that you will see that again. What can you do this evening? I would suggest that if you want to look at specific topics, that you go on to Sparks Maths. You've got your independent learning tab down the side. Check you're on the right curriculum for GCSE. I think it defaults to Key Stage 3, so please do check that, and you can type in topics. Additionally, we've got our brand new resource of our Sparks Revision pilot programme, and this is going to be a fantastic thing that you can utilise tonight. If you have not yet been on there, you are in the minority, and we do recommend that you get on there and have a go. If you go onto Sparks, you should see that you've got those two options, My Homework or Revision and Assessments. If you go into Independent Learning, you're clicking on My Homework, but if you click on Revision and Assessments, that will take you through to the revision programme, and everything in there is split into strands, so number, algebra, geometry and things like that, and there's a bespoke problem solving section on there too. It's going to give you a nice mix of different topics. You've got, if you're starting right at the beginning of it, you can pick and choose where you go in, but there's crossover topics, so those are foundation and higher questions, and then you also have a whole strand of questions from algebra that are just higher only, for example. So there's loads on there to be making great use of. You have got Sparks Math, we've mentioned that. You've got Exam Queue, again checking that you're on the right tier, and now you're looking at calculator questions. And remembering that you've got your mark scheme there that you can look at the answers so you know exactly how well you've done. You've got Maths Genie, so make sure you click on GCSE Revision, it's all split up by topic. And you've got Core Bit Maths, so same thing. Make sure you're clicking on videos and worksheets. You've got practice questions, which are exam style questions, and then you've got your answers that you can click on to have a look at as well. If you're looking for full papers to do, you've got Maths Genie. Again, make sure you click on GCSE papers. Very important that you click Edexcel and not any of the other exam boards, and that you're on the right tier. Tomorrow morning, feel free to come into the hub from 7 AM again. There was quite a lot of you in there really utilising that hub really well for paper one. We were very impressed. So it will be great to see a lot of you again tomorrow. You can bring in some questions that you haven't been able to answer, and we're more than happy to help you with those. They'll be revising in the canteen conservatory from 8. It is a bit more like 8:15 that we make that transition from the hub over through to the conservatory and the canteen, and that's just an example of a breakfast nap there for you, because that's what you sort of do as the last little bit before you go over to the arena. The lineup will be about 8:50, nice, quick, organised lineup, and then we can get over to the arena ready for our 9 AM start. So that's it. Good luck with your revision tonight. We look forward to seeing you early in the morning to do any last minute revision. See you then.